Maybe try the discount store downstairs, Brandon Hale said, loud enough for the nearest customers to hear. Maya Bennett stood in the center of the Bennett & Rose flagship store, wearing a simple cream sweater, faded blue jeans, white sneakers, and a canvas tote bag with one frayed strap. Her hair was tied back. She wore no diamond watch, no designer handbag, no gold necklace with a famous name. Nothing about her told the staff that she belonged in a room where one leather coat cost more than some families paid in rent. That was the mistake. The store looked like a private gallery. Warm lights glowed over glass shelves. Perfume bottles stood in perfect rows. Handbags rested on marble blocks. Soft music floated above polished wood floors. Every employee wore black, smiled at wealthy clients, and stood straighter when expensive shoes crossed the entrance. But when Maya walked in, no one greeted her. Carla Pierce, the store manager, looked at Maya from head to toe and said, "Do you have an appointment, or are you just looking around?" Maya answered calmly, "I would like to speak with the manager." Carla smiled without warmth. "I am the manager." A few employees exchanged looks. Maya said, "I would like to ask about customer service standards." Brandon lifted a plastic cup of dark soda from the employee counter and looked at Carla. Carla did not tell him to stop. She only gave a small smile. Then Brandon walked behind Maya, pretended to trip, and threw the entire drink across her sweater. The soda hit her chest, ran down her sleeves, soaped her canvas bag, and dripped onto the polished floor. For 1 second, no one breathed. Then Brandon laughed. "Relax," he said. "It was just a prank." Tessa Morgan covered her mouth, but she was laughing too. 2 customers looked away. Nora Ellis, the newest employee, stepped forward with a towel in her hand, her face full of horror. Maya did not scream. She did not cry. She looked down at her wet bag as a small, old notebook slipped out and landed open on the floor. Its pages began to soak through. No one in the room understood why that notebook mattered. Within 15 minutes, Carla would be standing before the company owner, trying to explain why her team had humiliated the one woman who wrote the original Bennett & Rose service code by hand. Brandon would stop laughing. Tessa would delete nothing fast enough. And every person in that store would learn that the woman they treated like a poor stranger was not only the owner's wife, she was the reason the company existed at all. But before the truth walked through the front door, Maya stood in soda and silence. The first thing she felt was not embarrassment. It was cold. The drink had soaked through the cotton of her sweater and spread across her skin in a sticky line from her collarbone to her waist. Ice from the cup clicked softly against the floor. A brown stream ran between the wooden panels and stopped beside the toe of her white sneaker. The second thing she felt was memory. Not of this store, of another one. Years earlier, when she was 22, Maya had walked into a luxury shop with 3 months of saved wages folded inside her purse. She had wanted to buy her mother a birthday scarf. Nothing huge, nothing flashy. Just one beautiful thing for a woman who had spent her life choosing rent before beauty. A saleswoman had followed Maya through every aisle, not helping, watching. When Maya reached for a silk scarf, the woman said, "Those are very expensive." Maya had left without buying it. She had cried on the bus home, not because she could not afford the scarf, but because the woman had made her feel like touching beauty was a crime. That day became one of the seeds of Bennett & Rose. And now, years later, inside the company she helped build, her own employees had turned the same wound into a joke. Carla Pierce stepped toward Maya with a napkin held between 2 fingers. "Well, that was unfortunate," Carla said. "Unfortunate," Maya repeated. Carla lowered her voice. "This area is very busy. Sometimes accidents happen when people stand in the middle of the floor." Nora whispered, "It was not an accident." Carla turned sharply. Nora! The young employee went pale. Maya looked at Nora. The girl could not have been more than 23. She wore the same black uniform as the others, but she did not wear the same expression. Her hands were shaking. She held the towel like an apology she did not know how to deliver. Maya took the towel gently. "Thank you." Nora nodded, eyes full of shame that did not belong to her. Brandon was still smiling. "Come on," he said. "It was a harmless prank. No need to make it dramatic." Maya turned to him. "What made it harmless?" The question was quiet. Brandon blinked. "What? What made it harmless?" He looked at Tessa, expecting support. Tessa gave a nervous laugh. "I mean, it is just soda." Maya looked down at the notebook on the floor. Just soda. She bent slowly and picked it up. The pages sagged in her hand. Blue ink had begun to bleed across the lines. The cover was dark green, worn at the corners, with a coffee stain near the bottom and a tear across the spine. Brandon glanced at it. "You might want to get a new notebook," he said. Carla sighed. "Brandon, enough." But her voice carried annoyance, not accountability. Maya opened the notebook to the first page. The handwriting was old. Her handwriting. "Luxury is not how expensive something looks. Luxury is how respected someone feels." The sentence blurred as soda spread across the ink. Maya closed the notebook carefully. Carla saw the movement and mistook calm for surrender. "Listen," she said, "I can have someone clean your bag if you want, but we do not tolerate scenes here." Maya looked at her. Who created the scene? Carla's lips tightened. "I am trying to resolve this professionally." "No," Maya said. "You were trying to make the person who was humiliated sound like the disruption." A customer near the fragrance table shifted uncomfortably. Another customer, a young mother holding a small shopping bag, looked at Maya with sympathy but said nothing. That silence had a sound. Maya knew it well. The sound of people deciding fairness was too expensive if it required them to be noticed. Carla stepped closer. "Ma'am, I do not know what kind of experience you expected when you came in here, but Bennett & Rose is a high-end brand. We have standards." Maya looked around the store. At the gold logo above the cash wrap, at the staff in black, at the bags arranged by color, at the mirror near the dressing rooms where customers were supposed to see themselves as elegant, valued, welcome. Then she said, "Standards without dignity are just decorations." Carla gave a short laugh. "That sounds nice, but this is not a philosophy class." Brandon laughed again. Tessa smiled because Brandon did. Nora did not. Nora looked at the wet notebook in Maya's hand, and something in her face changed. She knew the notebook was not random. She did not know how she knew. Maybe it was how Maya held it. Not like paper, like history. At 2:36 in the afternoon, outside the store, the glass doors opened for a wealthy couple wearing matching camel coats. Carla immediately turned away from Maya. "Welcome back, Mr. and Mrs. Langford," she said brightly. "We have your private selection ready." The difference in her voice was stunning. Warmth appeared like a switch. Her shoulders relaxed, her smile widened, her hands opened in welcome. Maya watched. The Langfords stepped inside and slowed when they saw the soda on the floor. "Is everything all right, Miss Pierce?" the woman asked. Carla gave a polished little laugh. "Just a small situation. We are handling it." Maya looked at her wet sweater. A small situation. Brandon moved toward the back with his phone low in his hand. Nora saw it. So did Maya. Brandon was not texting. He was checking the video. Maya had caught enough employee misconduct in her life to recognize the movement. Screen angled down, thumb moving fast, face trying to look casual. She turned to Carla. "Did he record that?" Carla's eyes flicked toward Brandon. I would not know. Nora said. He did. Everything stopped again. Brandon turned. Nora, what are you doing? Nora swallowed. You recorded it. Tessa whispered. Nora, stop. Nora kept her eyes on Maya. They have a group chat. They post things like that. Carla's face hardened. That is enough. Maya looked at Carla. A group chat. Carla lifted her chin. Employees joke with each other. That is not a crime. No, Maya said, but it can reveal one. Brandon slipped the phone into his pocket. Maya noticed. At that moment, the front glass doors opened again. This time, the sound was different. Not because the door made a different noise, because of the way the staff reacted. Every employee near the entrance straightened. Carla turned sharply toward the front. Ethan Bennett walked in beside Olivia Grant, the National Operations Director. Ethan wore a navy coat over a gray suit, but he did not move like a man impressed by his own status. He moved with purpose, scanning the floor as if he had entered already looking for something wrong. He had. Maya had asked him not to come with her. That morning, in their kitchen, Ethan had wanted to walk beside her into the flagship store. He had wanted Olivia there. He had wanted a formal inspection. Maya had refused. If they only respect me when they know I am your wife, she had said, then we have already failed. Ethan had not liked it, but he trusted her. He was supposed to arrive 15 minutes after her for the operational review. Now he was there, and the first thing he saw was not the new fragrance display, not the Langfords, not the quarterly sales board. He saw Maya standing in the middle of the floor, sweater soaked, tote bag stained, wet notebook pressed against her chest. His face changed, not loudly, completely. Maya, he said. The room went still. Carla looked from Ethan to Maya. For the first time, uncertainty entered her eyes. Ethan crossed the store quickly. Are you hurt? Maya shook her head. No. He removed his coat and placed it gently around her shoulders, covering the wet sweater without touching the stained fabric more than he had to. The tenderness of that gesture did more than anger could have. It told the room who she was before he spoke. Carla stepped forward fast. Mr. Bennett, I am so sorry you walked into this. We were handling a small disturbance with a customer who became difficult after an employee accident. Ethan turned to her. A customer? Carla swallowed. Yes, sir. Ethan looked at Brandon, then at Tessa, then at the soda on the floor, then at the wet notebook in Maya's hand. His voice became cold. Who threw the drink? No one spoke. Nora raised her hand slightly. Brandon did. Brandon's face went white. It was not like that, he said. It was a joke. Ethan stared at him. A joke. Carla rushed in. It was a poor judgment moment, but we did not know. Ethan cut her off. Know what? Carla froze. Ethan stepped beside Maya. Know that she mattered. No one answered. He turned toward the entire staff. This woman is Maya Bennett. Tessa's phone slipped lower in her hand. Brandon stared at the floor. Carla's face drained of color. Ethan's voice stayed quiet. She is my wife. Everything froze. A customer gasped softly. Nora's mouth opened. The Langfords looked at each other. Carla whispered, Mrs. Bennett? Maya did not respond to the title. Ethan took the wet notebook gently from her hand and opened it to the first page. His jaw tightened when he saw the bleeding ink. Then he looked at the staff again. And she is not only my wife. He held up the notebook. She is the co-founder of this company. The first service standards for Bennett & Rose were written by her in this notebook 12 years ago. Before we had stores, before we had investors, before anyone in this room wore our uniform. The silence became deeper. The kind people fall into when they realize they have been laughing at the foundation beneath their feet. Maya looked at Carla. "I came here today as a normal customer." Carla's voice trembled. "I did not know who you were." Maya nodded. "That is exactly why I came." "That is exactly why I came." Maya Bennett said the sentence in the middle of the flagship store, with Ethan coat around her shoulders and soda still dripping from the hem of her sweater. Carla Pierce could not answer, not because she did not understand, because she was beginning to. The words wife and co-founder had changed the air, but Maya did not let the room run too quickly toward shock. Shock was easy. Shock made people gasp, apologize, and pretend the harm began only when the victim turned out to matter. Maya knew better. The harm had begun before Brandon lifted the cup. It began when nobody greeted her. It began when Carla looked at her canvas bag and decided she was not worth warmth. It began when Tessa laughed because laughing was safer than thinking. It began when Nora saw the wrong thing coming and almost stayed silent because she needed her job. That was the part Maya had come to find, the part hidden behind strong monthly sales. Earlier that morning, at 7:15, Maya sat at the long oak table in the home office she shared with Ethan in Westchester County. The room was quiet except for the soft sound of rain against the window. On the table were printed reports from the Bennett and Rose flagship store on Fifth Avenue. Quarterly revenue was up 18%. Average transaction value was up 23%. Private client appointments were fully booked for 6 weeks. On paper, the store looked healthy. But paper could smile while people bled behind it. Maya placed one file in front of Ethan. Customer Experience Escalation Report, Flagship Store, Case Series 572. Ethan picked it up. "Another one?" he asked. Maya nodded. "The 5th in 6 weeks." He read the summary. Customer stated staff ignored her for 12 minutes, then asked whether she was waiting for someone who was actually shopping. He turned the page. A second complaint. Customer stated employee laughed after he asked whether payment plans existed. Another page. New employee exit interview. Quote, "The store has a beautiful brand and a cruel floor culture." Ethan's jaw tightened. Who submitted the exit interview? Maya looked down at the name. A seasonal associate named Priya Shah. She left after 3 weeks. Ethan sat back. Carla reported that Priya lacked luxury confidence. Maya gave him a sad look. That phrase should have bothered us the first time we heard it. Ethan said nothing, because she was right. Maya opened her laptop and pulled up the internal store dashboard. There were red flags everywhere if someone cared to look beyond money. 8 employee resignations in 9 months. 4 customer complaints mentioning rude treatment. 2 anonymous notes about staff recording customers. 1 regional visit report that praised sales numbers but described service tone as selective. Selective. Maya hated that word. It meant someone was choosing who deserved dignity. Ethan reached for his phone. "I will call Olivia. We will go together." Maya placed her hand over his. "No." He looked at her. "Maya, if you walk in with me, they will perform." "That is not a bad thing." "It is if performance is the only way they know how to respect someone." Ethan did not answer. Maya continued, "I need to see how they treat a person who walks in without a known name, without jewelry, without a private appointment, without a reason for them to be afraid." Ethan looked toward the printed report. "You are going alone?" "Yes." He hated that answer. She knew he did. Not because he doubted her, because he knew how much the test might hurt. Maya stood and walked to the shelf near the window. Behind a row of company awards was the old green notebook, the first one. The cover was worn at the corners. The spine had been repaired with tape years earlier. Some pages were stained with coffee from the apartment where Bennett and Rose began. Inside were sketches, service promises, early product notes, and the first line of the brand culture manual. Luxury is not how expensive something looks. Luxury is how respected someone feels. Maya had written that sentence at 2 a.m, 12 years earlier, while sitting on a kitchen floor beside boxes of unsold scarves. Back then, Bennett and Rose was not a chain. It was a dream with unpaid invoices. Ethan handled suppliers and numbers. Maya handled product, service, and the emotional architecture of the brand. She knew how customers wanted to feel because she had once been treated like she should not want beautiful things at all. She packed the notebook into her canvas tote. Ethan watched her. "You are taking that?" "Yes." "Why?" "Because if the store has forgotten the company's soul, I want the original with me." He stood and came beside her. "Then at least let Olivia arrive soon after." 15 minutes after me, Maya said. 5, 15, he sighed. 10, Maya smiled faintly. 12. Ethan shook his head, but there was affection in it. "You negotiate like a founder." "I am a founder." He took her hand. "Call me the second anything feels wrong." Maya looked at him. The problem is that wrong often starts before it becomes loud. That line stayed between them. At 10:30 that morning, before the store opened to full traffic, Carla Pierce was already on the sales floor. She moved like a ruler inspecting a kingdom. Her black blazer was tailored perfectly. Her hair was smooth. Her tablet was tucked under one arm. Every display had to be exact. Bags angled the same direction. Perfume bottles aligned by shade. Scarves folded to show the logo without looking desperate. Carla loved luxury, but she misunderstood it. To Carla, luxury was separation, a gate, a velvet rope, a way to make some people feel chosen and other people feel grateful just to stand near the door. That belief had made her valuable at first. She could flatter wealthy clients. She remembered birthdays and preferred sizes. She knew how to make private shoppers spend more than they planned. Revenue loved her. So leadership forgave too much. That was how dangerous managers survived, not because they failed loudly, because they succeeded in the metric most people were paid to worship. Brandon Hale leaned against the back counter, sipping soda from a plastic cup. He was 29, handsome, quick with jokes, and proud of how easily he could make coworkers laugh. He had started the internal group chat called Floor Comedy during holiday season. At first, the chat held harmless things: a broken mannequin arm, a customer dog wearing sunglasses, a ridiculous shipment note. Then it changed. Someone posted a picture of a man, old shoes. Someone added a caption. Someone posted a short video of a woman asking for a discount. Someone laughed. No one stopped it. Carla did not start every joke. She did not need to. She reacted with smiling faces. She wrote little comments. Keep the floor premium. Move browsers along. Protect the client experience. Make sure they leave before real clients arrive. Real clients. That phrase became permission. Tessa Morgan learned it fastest. She was 24, ambitious, and terrified of becoming invisible. She copied Carla's tone, Brandon humor, and whatever attitude seemed safest near power. When a rich customer entered, Tessa became silk. When a casually dressed customer entered, she became glass. Nora Ellis saw it all. She had been hired 3 weeks earlier. She was the kind of employee Maya had once hoped the company would attract. Careful, kind, observant, still unsure but willing to learn. She noticed when an older customer was embarrassed by a price tag. She noticed when a mother counted cash in her purse. She noticed when Brandon made people the joke after they left. On her 5th day, Nora had asked Carla whether they should greet everyone at the door, not only appointment clients. Carla had smiled. "Sweetheart, everyone who walks in is not everyone we are here for." Nora had not known what to say, so she said nothing. Silence became easier the 2nd time. That was how it begins. Maya knew that better than anyone. When she was young, she worked in a small clothing shop on Lenox Avenue. The owner, Miss Ruth, taught her to read people without judging them. A customer touching silk slowly might not be wasting time. She might be deciding whether she was allowed to want it. A man asking the same question twice might not be difficult. He might be buying a gift for someone he cannot afford to disappoint. A woman looking at the price tag and smiling sadly might not need pressure. She might need dignity. Miss Ruth had once told Maya, "The sale is never more important than the person who has to live inside the memory of how you treated them." Maya carried that sentence for years. When she met Ethan, he had capital, supplier relationships, and a sharp mind for operations. Maya had instinct, taste, and a stubborn belief that luxury should never become cruelty with better lighting. Their first pop-up shop made only $480 on opening day, but every customer came back. Not because the products were perfect, because Maya remembered them. She remembered the nurse buying a scarf for court because she was finalizing an adoption. She remembered the teacher looking for a coat that made her feel confident during a principal interview. She remembered the grandmother who saved 6 months for perfume and cried when Maya wrapped it like it was the most important purchase of the day. That became the brand, not the logo, not the price, the feeling. And now, inside the flagship store, Maya watched that feeling being mocked by people wearing the uniform she helped design. At 2:18 in the afternoon, Maya stood outside the store before entering. She watched through the glass. The Langfords came first. Carla greeted them before the door fully closed. "Mr. Langford, Mrs. Langford, welcome back. Your private edit is waiting." 2 glasses of sparkling water appeared. A sales associate took their coats. Everyone smiled. Then a young mother entered with a stroller and looked at a small leather wallet display. Tessa glanced at her sneakers, then turned away. The mother waited. No one came. After 3 minutes, she left. Maya wrote the time in her phone, 2:21. Next came an older man in a faded gray jacket. He looked at watches for almost 5 minutes. Brandon walked by and said, "Just so you know, those start at 1200. The man nodded and left. Maya wrote the time, 2:27. Then she put her phone away. It was one thing to read complaints. It was another to watch someone become one. At 2:31, Maya entered. No greeting, no smile, no welcome to Bennett and Rose. Only a quick scan of her sweater, jeans, sneakers, tote bag. A judgment delivered without words. She touched a leather coat near the front display. Brandon appeared beside her. "Careful with that one. It is pretty expensive." Maya looked at him. "Does the price make it fragile?" He smirked. "No, it just means we watch it closely." There it was. Maya felt the old ache rise. The store from her youth, the scarf, the saleswoman following her, the bus ride home. But this time, she did not leave. She asked for the manager. Carla arrived with a smile that had no welcome in it. "You need the manager?" "Yes, for a purchase, for a question." Carla's eyes moved to the tote bag. Questions can usually be answered online. Maya held her gaze. This one should be answered in person. That was when Carla decided Maya was not only unimportant, she was inconvenient. And inconvenience in Carla's store had to be pushed out before real clients noticed. Back in the present, the soda was still on the floor. The notebook was still wet. Ethan had just told the room that Maya was his wife and the co-founder of Bennett and Rose. But Maya's mind was not on status. It was on the young mother who left at 2:21, the older man who left at 2:27, the customers and the complaints who had no Ethan walking in behind them. She turned to Carla. "I did not come here to catch one mistake." Carla's voice was thin. "Mrs. Bennett, I truly apologize." Maya shook her head. "Do not start with my title. Start with what you did." Carla swallowed. "There was an accident." Nora spoke softly. "No, there was not." Every head turned. Nora's hands trembled, but she kept going. Brandon asked Tessa if she was recording before he walked over. Brandon hissed, "Nora, stop." Ethan's voice cut across the room. "No, let her speak." Nora looked at Maya. He called it a service splash in the chat before he did it. Tessa's face went white. Olivia Grant, the operations director, stepped forward. "What chat?" Nora looked at Carla. Carla said, "Do not answer that." Maya watched Nora's shoulders shake. There it was. The moment between fear and truth. Maya said, "Nora, your job will not be protected by silence today. It will be protected by the truth." Nora took a breath. "The chat is called floor comedy." Brandon lowered his eyes. Tessa locked her phone screen. Too late. Olivia turned to the security guard. "Close the front doors. No new customers. Preserve all floor camera footage from 2 o'clock onward. And no one deletes anything from any device." Carla said, "You cannot search personal phones." Olivia looked at her. "No one said search. I said preserve." Ethan looked at Brandon. "Hand the phone to Olivia or leave it on the counter until legal arrives. If you delete anything, you will turn a conduct investigation into a records destruction investigation." Brandon stopped moving. Maya stood in the center of the store, coat over her shoulders, wet notebook in her hand. For the first time since the soda hit her, the staff understood something. The prank was over. The evidence had begun. The prank was over. The evidence had begun. Brandon Hale stood beside the fragrance counter with his phone in his hand, suddenly aware that a device he had used for jokes could now become the reason his career ended before sunset. Olivia Grant held out her hand. "Place it on the counter." Brandon looked at Carla Pierce. Carla did not look back. That was the first betrayal. People who encourage cruelty often disappear when cruelty needs a witness. Brandon swallowed. "It was just a video." Olivia's voice was calm. "Then preserving it should not frighten you." Brandon placed the phone on the counter. Tessa Morgan kept her own phone behind her back. Maya saw it. So did Nora. Nora whispered, "Tessa has one too." Tessa's eyes snapped toward her. "Why are you doing this?" Nora looked terrified, but she did not step back. "Because you all laughed." The sentence was small, but it moved through the store with more force than Brandon laughter had. Ethan Bennett turned to Tessa. "Phone on the counter." Tessa tried to smile. "Mr. Bennett, I was not involved. I was only standing nearby." Maya looked at her. "Were you standing nearby, or were you recording?" Tessa's face tightened. "I did not throw anything." "No," Maya said. "You made sure it could be watched again." That landed. Tessa placed her phone beside Brandon's phone. Carla lifted both hands slightly, trying to regain control of a room that no longer belonged to her. "Mr. Bennett, with respect, this is becoming excessive. We had an employee act immaturely. We can discipline him and move forward. There is no need to turn one poor joke into a store-wide crisis." Ethan looked at the soda still shining on the floor. "A poor joke." Carla's voice softened. "I understand how it appears." Maya stepped forward. No, you understand who saw it. Carla's mouth opened, but nothing came out. Maya continued. If Ethan had not walked in, would you be calling this excessive? Carla said nothing. That silence answered. Olivia turned to the security guard near the entrance. Please place a temporary closed sign at the door. Customers currently inside may remain if they choose. No one enters until this incident is contained and documented. The guard nodded and moved quickly. The warm music still played overhead, gentle and expensive, as if the store itself had not realized something ugly had happened beneath it. Maya looked toward the ceiling camera near the cash wrap. What angles cover this floor? Olivia answered immediately. Camera 1 covers entrance. Camera 2 covers front display. Camera 3 covers fragrance. Camera 4 covers cash wrap. Camera 7 covers fitting corridor. Audio is not recorded on the sales floor, but phone video may have audio. Carla shifted. That detail mattered. Without audio, Carla could try to turn cruelty into misunderstanding. With Brandon video, misunderstanding might have a voice. Maya looked at Brandon. Play it. Brandon stepped back. No. Ethan's voice lowered. Play it. Brandon looked at Olivia. Can he make me do that? Olivia answered, You are on company property during work hours recording a customer incident with a company employee participating. You can refuse to unlock your device until legal counsel arrives. You cannot delete, alter, or transmit anything. And if you already sent the video to an employee group chat, the company can preserve that communication through issued devices and workplace policy. Brandon stared at her. The confidence drained from him. Tessa began to cry quietly. Carla whispered, Tessa, pull yourself together. Maya turned toward Carla. That is your first instruction to her. Carla blinked. Not tell the truth? Not apologize? Pull yourself together. Ethan looked at Olivia. Call legal. Call human resources. Call digital security. Tell them we need emergency preservation under incident file flagship 572. Olivia nodded. Already doing it. The phrase incident file made Brandon look sick. This was no longer a prank. It had a number. At 2:47 in the afternoon, Olivia started a formal incident log from the manager tablet. Incident location, Bennett and Rose flagship store, 5th Avenue, New York City. Sales floor near fragrance display. Time of event, approximately 2:34 in the afternoon. Customer affected, Maya Bennett, co-founder. Witnesses, Ethan Bennett, Olivia Grant, Carla Pierce, Nora Ellis, Tessa Morgan, Brandon Hale. Customers present, Langford private client appointment. Unidentified young mother. Unidentified older male customer departed before incident. Maya stopped her. Add 2 earlier observations. Olivia looked up. Maya continued. At 2:21, a young mother with a stroller was ignored near the wallet display and left. At 2:27, an older man in a gray jacket was told the watches started at $1,200 before he asked. He left. Olivia typed. Carla said, Those are unrelated. Maya looked at her. They are the reason I was here. Carla's face changed again. She had thought the day began when Maya entered. It had begun before that. Maya had been watching. That was the detail Carla missed. Carla spoke carefully. You were testing us, Maya answered. I was listening to what customers had already been telling us. Carla took a breath. Then that means you came in with a bias. Maya almost smiled. There it was, the reversal attempt. When truth arrives, blame the witness for looking. Ethan turned sharply. Careful! Carla did not stop. If leadership had concerns, we should have been informed through proper channels. Sending your wife undercover creates a hostile situation." The room froze. She had said wife now, not customer, not co-founder, wife. Maya's voice was quiet. "I entered through the front door during business hours and asked for the manager. Your team chose the rest." Carla looked at Olivia. "I have delivered the highest sales in the region for 4 consecutive quarters." Olivia did not look impressed. "Yes," Carla pointed toward the displays. "This store carries the company image. We cannot treat every person who wanders in like a private client." Maya held the wet notebook tighter. "No one asked you to treat everyone like a private client. We asked you to treat everyone like a person." Nora looked down. The young employee had heard that sentence somewhere. Then she remembered. It was in the training manual, page 1. "Every guest is real before you know who they are." Nora lifted her head. "That is in the manual." Carla turned. "What?" Nora spoke a little stronger. "The service manual says every guest is real before you know who they are." Maya's eyes moved to Nora. Ethan did too. Olivia opened the employee handbook on her tablet and searched the phrase. There it was. Section 1, Bennett and Rose Guest Promise. Every guest is real before you know who they are. Every question deserves dignity. Every person who crosses the threshold is a human being before they are a sales opportunity. Olivia read it aloud. The store fell silent. Carla looked away. Brandon stared at the floor. Tessa wiped her face. Maya felt the notebook in her hand. The printed manual had preserved what the wet pages were losing. That mattered. At 2:55, the young mother with the stroller returned. Not because she had planned to. She had left her child's small blue hat near the wallet display and came back through the entrance just before the guard could fully close the door. She stopped when she saw Ethan, Olivia, the staff gathered, and Maya wearing a coat over a wet sweater. The guard said softly, "Ma'am, the store is temporarily closed." Maya turned. "Please let her in." The woman entered cautiously. "I am sorry. My daughter hat." Nora moved at once and picked it up from behind the display. "Here it is." The woman took it. "Thank you." She looked at Maya. "Are you all right?" Maya nodded. "I will be." The woman hesitated, then she looked at Carla. "They ignored me too." The words were barely above a whisper, but everyone heard. Carla closed her eyes. The woman continued. "I stood by that wallet display for several minutes. 3 employees looked at me. No one came. Then 2 women in camel coats walked in, and everybody moved like a bell rang." Mrs. Langford, still near the private client area, lowered her eyes. The young mother held the small blue hat against her chest. "I came here to buy a wallet for my husband's anniversary. He works nights. I saved for it." I was embarrassed, so I left. Maya stepped closer. "What is your name?" "Alicia." Maya's voice softened. "Alicia, I am sorry. You should not have had to earn attention." Alicia's eyes filled. I thought maybe I did not look like I could afford anything. Maya looked at the staff. "That sentence is the cost of your culture." Brandon looked away. Tessa began crying harder. Carla said, "We cannot be responsible for every customer feeling." Maya turned to her. "No, but you are responsible for what you teach them to feel about themselves when they leave." That sentence closed around Carla like a lock. At 3:03, Olivia received a call from corporate counsel. She stepped into the side area but kept the call on speaker for Ethan and Maya. "This is Daniel Price from Legal," the voice said. Olivia briefed me. "Digital security is preserving company chat channels for store employees. Human Resources is opening workplace conduct review. Because this involved physical contact with the customer, intentional or not, we need statements today." Brandon spoke loudly. Physical contact. It was soda. Daniel's voice stayed flat. A liquid was thrown onto a person's body in a retail environment. Do not minimize it while counsel is on the line. Brandon closed his mouth. Maya looked down. Liquid thrown onto a person's body. The legal phrase sounded cold, but it refused to laugh. That helped. Carla said, "No one intended harm." Nora looked at Brandon. "Yes, he did." Brandon snapped, "I did not hurt her." Nora's voice shook. "You wanted people to laugh at her." Brandon stepped toward her. "You are acting like you were not in the chat." Nora flinched. Maya saw it. There it was, fear fighting back with accusation. Nora whispered, "I never posted." "But you stayed." Nora's face crumpled. "Yes." The room went quiet. Brandon thought he had won something. He had not. Nora turned to Maya. "I stayed. I saw things. I did not report enough. I told myself I was new. I told myself I needed the job. I told myself Carla would fire me if I made trouble." Her voice broke. "I am sorry." Maya looked at her for a long moment. This was the kind of apology that cost something. Not because Nora had done the worst harm, because she was admitting the smaller silence that made the worst harm easier. Maya said, "Thank you for telling the truth now." Nora wiped her eyes. "It should have been sooner." "Yes," Maya said, "it should have." Nora nodded, accepting the truth instead of asking to be rescued from it. That mattered too. At 3:12, digital security remotely preserved the company group chat. Floor comedy. The name appeared on Olivia's tablet. Tessa turned away. Brandon muttered, "This is insane." Ethan looked at him. "No, it is documented." Olivia opened the message archive under legal supervision. The most recent video was not deleted. It had already uploaded to the chat. A thumbnail showed Maya from behind, just before the soda hit. The caption beneath it read, "Premium Floor Baptism." Brandon had posted it. Tessa had replied with 3 laughing faces. Another employee had written, "Carla is going to pretend she did not see that." Carla had replied, "Clean the floor before real clients notice." Maya read the line once, then again. Clean the floor, not help her, not apologize, not stop. Clean the floor before real clients notice. Carla had no defense left. But pride kept trying to speak. She said, "I meant the spill." Maya looked at her. "You meant the truth." No one moved. Olivia scrolled farther back. The chat held dozens of messages, some childish, some cruel, some worse. A photograph of an older customer trying on sunglasses, caption, "Lost tourist energy." A video of a girl leaving the dressing room red-eyed, caption, "Budget princess found the price tag." A picture of a black man looking at watches, caption, "Security should shadow this one." A message from Carla, "Keep these people moving before appointments arrive." The store seemed to shrink around the evidence. Mrs. Langford covered her mouth. Alicia held her baby hat tighter. Nora looked sick. Brandon sat down on a display bench. Tessa whispered, "I am sorry." Maya looked at her. "To whom?" Tessa blinked. "To you." Maya shook her head. "That is the easy one." Tessa looked around the room and finally understood. The people they had mocked were not jokes in a phone. They were human beings with full lives who had carried those moments home. Maya handed the wet notebook to Ethan and walked toward the fitting corridor. "I need a moment." Ethan moved to follow. She shook her head. "Please." He stopped. Maya entered fitting room 2 and closed the door. For the first time that day, she was alone. The room was softly lit. A three-way mirror reflected the coat around her shoulders, the stained sweater beneath it, the stickiness on her hands, the brown soda mark on her jeans. A silk dress hung nearby for some private appointment. On the small table sat a gold card that read, "You are invited to feel extraordinary." Maya laughed once, a broken sound. Then the tears came, quietly, not the kind of crying that asks for rescue, the kind that leaks out after the body has been holding dignity too tightly. She sat on the small bench and pressed her palms together. For a moment, she wanted to leave. Let Ethan handle it. Let Olivia fire them. Let legal write the report. Let the store close. Let the brand survive or fail without her standing in the middle of the pain. Then she remembered Miss Ruth from the little shop on Lenox Avenue. The sale is never more important than the person who has to live inside the memory of how you treated them. Maya looked into the mirror. Today, the person was her. But before her, it had been Alicia. Before Alicia, the older man. Before him, the girl in the dressing room. Before her, the black man at the watch case. Before all of them, a younger Maya on a bus with a scarf she never bought. She stood. She wiped her face. She removed Ethan's coat and folded it over her arm. The sweater was still stained, but she did not hide it, not yet. She opened the fitting room door and walked back onto the sales floor. Everyone turned. Maya stood straight. No coat over the stain, no attempt to make the harm prettier. She looked at Ethan. "Do not close the investigation around me." Ethan understood. Maya turned to Olivia. "I want every person in those videos identified if possible. I want every complaint reopened. I want every employee who saw this pattern interviewed. And I want the question to be bigger than who threw the soda." Olivia asked, "What is the question?" Maya looked at Carla. Who taught them they could laugh? Carla lowered her eyes. For the first time since Maya walked in, the manager had nothing polished left to say. And that was when the real collapse began. Not with shouting, not with Ethan Bennett firing everyone in a burst of anger, not with Maya demanding revenge while soda dried on her sweater. It began with a tablet on the fragrance counter. Olivia Grant connected the manager tablet to the store display screen above the cash wrap. That screen usually showed campaign images, models in perfect coats, perfume bottles glowing beside white roses, a version of luxury so clean it looked untouched by real people. Now the screen showed the company chat archive, floor comedy. The name sat at the top, like a confession. Carla Pierce stared at it. Brandon Hale would not look at it. Tessa Morgan wiped her cheeks with the back of her hand. Nora Ellis stood near Maya, still trembling, but no longer hiding behind the display table. Ethan looked at Olivia. "Proceed." Olivia opened the latest video. The sales floor appeared from Tessa phone camera. Maya stood near the fragrance counter, asking Carla about service standards. Brandon crossed the frame with the cup in his hand. He looked directly into the camera and smiled. Then he spoke. "Watch this." A second later, the soda hit Maya. The sound was worse on video. The splash, the ice hitting wood, the sudden gasp from Nora, the laughter from Brandon, the small laugh from Tessa behind the phone, then Carla voice, low but clear. "Clean that before the Langfords see it." The video stopped. Nobody moved. There was no way to call it an accident now. The lie had lost its costume. Brandon's voice cracked. "I did not mean for it to go that far." Maya looked at him. "How far did you mean for it to go?" He had no answer. Ethan stepped forward. "You looked at the camera before you threw it." Brandon swallowed. "It was supposed to be funny," Maya said. It was supposed to be shared. That was different. That was worse. Olivia scrolled to the comments below the video. Brandon had written, "Premium floor baptism." Tessa had written, "She asked for manager energy and got beverage service." Another employee had written, "Carla's face says, 'Get this woman out.'" Then Carla's response appeared, "Clean the floor before real clients notice." Alicia, the young mother who had returned for her child hat, read the message from near the wallet display. Her eyes filled again, but this time with anger. "Real clients," she said. No one replied. She stepped forward. "I was not a real client either, was I?" Carla opened her mouth. Alicia did not let her speak. "I stood right there with my daughter. I had saved $400 for my husband's anniversary gift. I was nervous, but I came in anyway because he always said Bennett and Rose was the kind of place people went when they wanted something meaningful." She pointed toward the display. "I left because your staff made me feel like my money was embarrassing." Maya listened without interrupting. "That mattered." Alicia continued. "Then I saw that woman standing here wet, and I realized maybe it was not just me being sensitive." Maya said softly, "It was not you." The sentence broke something open. Mrs. Langford, the private client in the camel coat, stepped out from the lounge area. "I should say something too." Carla turned toward her, almost hopeful, as if a wealthy client might save the shape of the old store. Mrs. Langford did not save it. She said, "I have shopped here for 3 years. I have seen how differently people are greeted. I told myself it was not my place. I liked the service I received, so I ignored the service others did not." Her voice shook. That was convenient cowardice. Her husband looked at the floor. Ethan looked at her carefully. "Thank you for saying that." Mrs. Langford looked at Maya. "I am sorry I looked away today." Maya nodded. "Do not stop at sorry." Mrs. Langford understood. "No, I will provide a statement." That was when the authority shifted again, not only from Carla to Ethan, from silence to witness. At 3:26 in the afternoon, corporate legal counsel Daniel Price joined through secure video. Human Resources Chief Elaine Mercer joined next. Digital security lead Priya Raman came on audio from headquarters. Olivia started the formal review. Incident file. Flagship 572. Digital chat preservation confirmed. Sales floor video preservation confirmed. Witnesses present and willing to provide statements. Customer impact expanded beyond single incident. Maya corrected her. Not single incident. Pattern. Olivia nodded. Pattern. Daniel Price asked for the oldest available floor comedy record. Priya Raman pulled archived messages from the company-managed system. Brandon had assumed private jokes stayed private because they lived on phones. He had forgotten the chat used company accounts, company wireless internet, company time, and sometimes company devices. The archive opened by month: December, January, February, March. The screen filled with jokes that had aged into evidence. A photograph of an elderly woman counting cash beside the scarf table. Caption: "Layaway queen lost upstairs." A message from Tessa. She asked if we had anything under 100. I almost sent her to the gift wrap ribbon. A reply from Brandon. "Tell her the dust is free." Several laughing responses. Then Carla. "Move bargain hunters out before weekend appointment block." Maya closed her eyes, only for a second. Ethan saw it. He wanted to stop the screen. Maya shook her head. "Keep going." Priya opened another record. A black man in a work jacket looking at watches. Caption from Brandon. "Security risk, checking time." A response from Carla. "Keep Brandon near watches when that profile comes in." The word sat on the screen. That profile. No one spoke. Then Olivia read a note from the customer complaint file. Complaint number CX9314. Customer stated he was followed while viewing watches despite asking for a gift for retirement celebration. Complaint closed by store manager. Resolution? Customer misunderstood attentive service. Olivia looked at Carla. You closed this complaint. Carla whispered. Yes. Ethan asked, Did you review the video? Carla said nothing. Olivia answered from the file. No video attached. Manager note states no further action required. Maya looked at Ethan. How many complaints closed without video review? Priya typed. For the flagship store, last 12 months, 28 customer complaints. 16 closed by store manager without attached video. 9 involved service tone. 5 involved suspected profiling language. Elaine Mercer from Human Resources spoke for the first time. That is a serious governance failure. Carla lifted her head. I was never told to attach video to every complaint. Maya looked at her. But you knew how to attach sales proof when a private client praised you. Carla froze. Olivia opened the performance file. There it was. Carla had attached video clips to positive client experience reports 5 times that quarter. The system was not the obstacle. Honesty was. Ethan's voice turned cold. You used evidence when it helped you, Carla said. I was trying to protect the store reputation. Maya stepped closer to the screen. No, you were protecting the version of the store where pain stayed outside the frame. That sentence landed in the room like a door locking. At 3:41, Nora handed Olivia a written note from her locker. I wrote it after my first week, she said. I did not send it. Her hands trembled. Maya accepted the folded paper only after Nora nodded permission. The note was dated 3 weeks earlier. I am worried about how some customers are treated when they do not appear wealthy. Staff make jokes in the chat. Carla says real clients need protection from browsers. I'm afraid if I report this, I will lose my job. Nora looked at Maya. I should have sent it. Maya said, yes. Nora lowered her eyes. Then Maya added, but today you did what the note could not do by itself. You spoke when everyone could hear. Nora began to cry again, but she did not collapse into it. She stood. That was her change. At 3:50, a third customer came forward. The older man in the gray jacket had returned because Alicia had called to him from the hallway after recognizing him from earlier. His name was Martin Wells. He was 68, a retired transit supervisor buying a watch for his brother who had survived surgery. He stood near the entrance with his cap in both hands. I did not want trouble, he said. Maya looked at him. You are not trouble. He nodded slowly. That young man told me the watches started at $1,200 before I asked a question. I have the money, but after he said it, I felt foolish standing there. Brandon covered his face. Martin continued. I spent 40 years going to work before sunrise. I know what it is to be looked through. I just did not expect to pay $1,200 for the privilege. Ethan closed his eyes. That sentence hurt more than anger. Maya walked to Martin and held out her hand. Mr. Wells, I am sorry this company made you feel that way. He shook her hand. I appreciate that, but I hope you understand. I would have left and never said a word if that young woman had not come to get me. He looked at Nora. Nora cried harder. Maya turned to the staff. That is how much harm disappears, not because it is small, because the person carrying it is tired. The store went silent. At 4:05, Olivia read the preliminary employment action aloud. Carla Pierce was removed from store management immediately, pending termination review for creating and permitting a hostile customer environment, closing complaints without proper review, encouraging discriminatory service practices, failing to protect customers, and misrepresenting the soda incident after the owner arrived. Brandon Hale was suspended pending termination for intentionally throwing a drink on a customer, recording humiliation for entertainment, and participating in repeated customer mockery. Tessa Morgan was suspended pending review for recording, sharing, and laughing at customer humiliation, failing to intervene, and participating in the floor comedy chat. Other employees in the chat would be interviewed individually. Carla finally broke. "You cannot do this because of one afternoon." Maya turned toward her. "This is not one afternoon. This is every afternoon someone left here smaller than they entered." Carla's voice shook. "I built this store, numbers." Ethan answered. "Maya built this company's standards." Carla looked at him. "And you broke them," Ethan said. He did not shout. He did not need to. Carla turned toward Maya. "I did not know you were the co-founder." Maya looked at the wet notebook in Ethan's hand. "That is still your only defense." Carla had no answer, because the defense had become the confession. At 4:16, Maya asked everyone to sit. Employees on one side, customers who chose to remain on the other. Olivia kept the legal call open. Maya stood in front of the store, still wearing the stained sweater. She could have changed. Ethan had offered. Olivia had offered. Nora had found a new cashmere wrap from the stockroom and brought it with both hands. Maya refused. Not forever, just until this was said. She held the wet notebook. 12 years ago, she began. Ethan and I wrote the first service code for Bennett and Rose in a one-bedroom apartment above a laundromat. We did not have investors. We did not have a flagship store. We did not even have chairs for every meeting. A few employees looked up. Maya continued. I wrote the first sentence because I had once been followed through a luxury store for touching a scarf I had saved 3 months to buy for my mother. I left that store with nothing in my hands and shame in my chest. I promised myself that if I ever built a place with beautiful things, no one would be made to feel unworthy of standing near them. Her voice trembled, but did not break. Today I learned that this store did not only forget that promise, it made entertainment out of breaking it. Brandon stared at the floor. Tessa sobbed quietly. Carla looked toward the door as if escape could still look dignified. Maya turned toward Alicia, Martin Wells, Mrs. Langford, Nora, then Ethan. I am not angry because I was humiliated. I am angry because I was believed only after my title was revealed. She paused. The room held its breath. Respect that depends on recognition is not respect. It is calculation. Ethan looked at her with pain and pride at the same time. Maya continued. So from this moment, the question inside Bennett and Rose will never be whether a person looks like a real client. The question will be whether we are real enough to serve them. No one spoke. Olivia typed the sentence into the incident file because it had become policy before anyone voted. At 4:30, Carla was escorted to the back office to collect her personal items under supervision. Brandon and Tessa were separated for written statements. Nora was moved out of the sales floor and placed under direct protection from human resources for the duration of the review. As Carla passed Maya, she stopped. Mrs. Bennett, I am sorry. Maya looked at her. For what? Carla's eyes filled with tears. For what happened to you? Maya shook her head gently. Still too small. Carla swallowed. For what I allowed to happen here. Maya said nothing. Carla continued. For teaching them that some people did not count. The store went quiet. Maya finally nodded once. Now tell that to the investigators without making yourself the victim. Carla lowered her head. Yes. Then she walked away. Not forgiven, not destroyed for entertainment. Accountable. There was a difference. At 5:02, after the first round of statements began, Ethan found Maya near the fitting rooms. She was holding the notebook open under a hand dryer, trying to save the pages. He stood beside her. "You should not have had to stand there like that." Maya did not look up. Neither should they. He knew who she meant. Alicia, Martin, the girl in the video, the man at the watches, the customers whose complaints had been filed under misunderstanding. Ethan's voice softened. "I failed you." Maya turned. "We failed the floor before it failed me." He took that in. She looked down at the bleeding ink. This notebook survived a flooded apartment, 3 investor rejections, and the year we almost lost everything. Ethan smiled sadly. And today. He touched the edge of the page. Can it be restored? Maya looked through the glass toward the sales floor, where Nora was giving her statement, and Alicia was writing hers beside Martin Wells. The notebook, maybe. The company, she paused. Only if we stop protecting the parts that stained it. Ethan nodded. Then we do that. Outside, evening light pressed against the glass doors of the flagship store. A closed sign hung where customers usually entered. Behind it, the logo Bennett and Rose glowed softly, beautiful and wounded. For the first time in years, the store was not selling anything. It was listening. For the first time in years, the store was not selling anything. It was listening. The closed sign hung on the glass door of the Bennett and Rose flagship store while evening settled over Fifth Avenue. Outside, people slowed, looked through the glass, and wondered why the most profitable store in the company had gone dark before sunset. Inside, the lights stayed warm. But the warmth no longer belonged to the displays. It belonged to the truth. Maya Bennett sat in the back fitting room with the old green notebook open on her lap. The soda had dried on her sweater in dark patches. Her hands still felt sticky no matter how many times she washed them. The notebook pages had begun to wrinkle as they dried, and the first sentence on page 1 was blurred at the edges. Luxury is not how expensive something looks. Luxury is how respected someone feels. The ink had bled, the meaning had not. Ethan stood by the doorway, not saying anything. He had learned after years of marriage that some silences were not empty. Some silences were where Maya gathered herself before making the decision everyone else was too emotional to make clearly. Olivia Grant entered softly with a tablet in both hands. "The first statements are complete," she said. Maya looked up. "Tell me." Olivia took a breath. Brandon admitted he threw the soda intentionally, but he still claims he thought it was harmless. Tessa admitted she recorded it and posted laughing responses in the chat. Carla admitted she knew about the chat, but says she did not understand how cruel it had become. Maya closed the notebook. "That is not believable." "No," Olivia said, "it is not." Ethan's jaw tightened. "And Nora?" Olivia's expression softened. "Nora gave a full statement. She admitted she saw earlier behavior and did not report it. She also provided the handwritten note from her locker, confirmed the chat culture, and identified 3 customers from prior videos." Maya nodded slowly. She told the truth, even though it made her look imperfect. That kind of witness is usually the most useful. Olivia placed the tablet on the small table. Human Resources recommends immediate termination for Brandon, termination review for Carla, suspension pending final review for Tessa and the other employees active in the chat. Nora will be protected under the employee reporting policy. Maya looked at Ethan. "That is not enough." Ethan nodded. "I know." Olivia waited. Maya stood. "Then we do not write this as a personnel problem. We write it as a leadership failure, a training failure, a complaint review failure, and a culture failure." Olivia typed. Maya continued. The flagship store closes for 72 hours, not for cleaning, for investigation and retraining. Every complaint from the last 18 months gets reopened. Every store manager in the company receives a preservation notice. Every employee group chat using company systems is reviewed for customer privacy violations. Ethan added, and every regional director who ignored turnover and complaint trends gets interviewed. Olivia nodded. Done. Maya looked at the stained sweater. Then she said the sentence that made the room colder. And I want a public statement before the media writes one for us. At 6:40 in the evening, the Bennett and Rose executive team joined by secure video from headquarters. The screen in conference room 1 filled with faces. Chief Legal Officer Daniel Price, Human Resources Chief Elaine Mercer, Digital Security Lead Priya Raman, Brand President Julian Cross, 3 board members. No one looked relaxed. They had all seen the incident summary. They had all seen the video. They had all seen the line from Carla, clean the floor before real clients notice. Maya sat beside Ethan at the head of the table, still wearing the stained sweater. Julian Cross looked uncomfortable. Maya, perhaps we should get you a replacement top before the call continues. Maya looked at him. Why? He paused. I only mean for your comfort. My comfort is not the reason you asked. Julian said nothing. Maya continued. You wanted the stain gone because it makes the brand look bad. The board members shifted. Maya leaned forward. Good. Let it. No one spoke. She placed the wet notebook on the table where the camera could see it. This notebook contains the first service code of this company. I wrote it before we had a headquarters, before we had investors, before our first store lease was approved. Today, employees in our flagship store soaked it with soda while laughing at the kind of customer this brand was created to honor. Daniel Price cleared his throat. We should be careful with language before the investigation concludes. Maya looked at him. The investigation can decide individual discipline. The video already decided whether our values were violated. That ended the legal hesitation. Ethan turned to the screen. We are not managing optics tonight. We are correcting failure. Elaine Mercer spoke. Human Resources supports immediate action. Carla Pierce had prior employee concerns attached to her management file. Some were closed after regional review with no corrective action. My eyes narrowed. How many? Elaine looked down. 4 in the last year. Olivia sat straighter. I only received 2. Elaine nodded. 2 were classified as local coaching matters and did not escalate. Maya closed her eyes. There it was again. A system teaching silence. Ethan's voice was low. Who classified them that way? Elaine answered. Regional Retail Director Mason Vale. Maya looked at Olivia. He praised Carla. Numbers in the last review. Olivia nodded. Revenue growth and private client retention. Maya looked at the screen. Then he is part of the review too. At 7:15, the company issued a preservation order across every Bennett and Rose store. Subject, immediate preservation notice. Customer respect and digital conduct review. All managers were instructed to preserve customer complaints, internal chats, digital media, training records, employee reports, incident logs, closed service files, and any communication involving customer appearance, perceived wealth, race, age, disability, language, or occupation. The flagship staff phones used for company accounts were placed under digital hold. Security footage from Camera 1, Camera 2, Camera 3, Camera 4, and Camera 7 was copied. The floor comedy chat was frozen. Nothing disappeared. Not this time. At 8:05, Brandon Hale sat in the back office with a human resources representative and Daniel Price on video. He looked smaller without the group laughing behind him. "I did not know she was Mrs. Bennett," he said. Daniel asked, "Would you have thrown soda on her if you had known?" Brandon stared at the table. "No," Daniel asked. "Why not?" "Because she is the owner, wife." Daniel waited. Brandon realized too late what he had admitted. Maya watched from behind the glass with Ethan beside her. She did not enjoy his fear. Fear was not the goal. Understanding was. Brandon tried again. "I just thought she was some random woman making trouble." Maya whispered, "Some random woman." Ethan heard the pain in it. The phrase held the entire wound. Some random woman. As if random women could be humiliated safely. As if dignity needed identity papers. As if cruelty became serious only when it reached someone powerful. Brandon was terminated that night. Not because Maya was Ethan's wife, because he had proven, on video, in writing, and through his own words, that he could not be trusted with customers. Tessa was interviewed next. She cried through most of it. "I did not start it," she said. Elaine Mercer asked, "Did you laugh?" "Yes." "Did you record?" "Yes." "Did you post or respond in the chat?" "Yes." "Did you ever tell a manager it was wrong?" Tessa wiped her face. "No." "Why?" Tessa looked toward the glass where Carla once held control. "Because if Carla liked you, you got the best appointments. If she did not, you were invisible. I wanted to belong." Maya listened. That answer mattered. Not because it excused Tessa, because it explained how small ambition can become large harm when a leader rewards the wrong thing. Tessa was suspended pending termination review, and later dismissed after the digital audit found multiple videos and comments attached to her account. Carla Pierce refused to resign. That was expected. People who build power on image rarely surrender before the mirror breaks completely. Her interview began at 9:10. She wore the same tailored black blazer, but her voice no longer had its showroom shine. "I ran the most profitable store in the company," she said. Maya entered the room for that sentence. Everyone turned. Maya stood across from Carla with the notebook in her hand. "You ran the most profitable store in the company," Maya said, "and you still made people feel too poor to stand inside it." Carla swallowed. "I never intended that." Maya sat. Intent does not greet customers. Behavior does. Carla's eyes filled, but the tears did not soften the record. She had approved chat messages. She had closed complaints. She had called some customers not real clients. She had trained employees to protect the look of luxury over the humanity of guests. By 10:30, Carla was removed from employment pending final legal processing. Her last words to Maya were quiet. "I am sorry." Maya asked, "For what?" Carla cried harder. "For teaching them to see people the way I saw them." Maya nodded. "That is the first honest sentence you have said today." Carla waited, as if forgiveness might come next. It did not. Maya said, "Take that honesty into whatever comes after this. Do not use it to ask for pity. Use it to become someone safer than you were." Carla lowered her head. Then she left the store she once ruled. No applause, no dramatic music, only the soft sound of the glass door closing behind her. A small sound, a large ending. 3 days later, Bennett and Rose released the public statement. It did not hide behind vague language. At our Fifth Avenue flagship store, a customer was humiliated by employees who threw a drink on her, recorded the act, and treated the incident as entertainment. That customer was Maya Bennett, co-founder of Bennett and Rose. But our response is not based on her title. It is based on the truth that no guest should need status, wealth, fame, or connection to receive dignity. The employees directly involved are no longer representing Bennett and Rose. The store is undergoing independent review, digital conduct audit, complaint reopening, and mandatory retraining. Respect is not reserved for recognized people. Every guest is real before we know who they are. The statement spread fast. Some praised it, some mocked it. Some said the company only cared because the victim was the owner-wife. Maya read that comment 3 times. Then she handed the phone to Ethan. "They are partly right," she said. Ethan looked hurt. Maya continued. "We cared before, but we did not hear enough before. That is the part we have to own." So they owned it. The company reopened every service complaint from the previous 18 months. 24 customers were contacted personally. 7 received formal apologies and compensation. 4 incidents were referred for legal review because customer videos had been recorded without consent. 3 store managers were placed under investigation for similar chat cultures. Regional Retail Director Mason Vale resigned after the review showed repeated dismissal of employee concerns. A new customer dignity audit was created. Every store had to track not only sales, but greeting time, complaint resolution quality, repeat complaint patterns, employee turnover, and respect scores from anonymous shoppers of different backgrounds. The phrase, "every guest is real," became more than a slogan. It became a measured standard. Maya hated that it had taken pain to make people measure what should have been obvious. But pain without change was only damage. Pain with change could become responsibility. 6 weeks later, the flagship store reopened. There was no champagne, no red carpet, no influencer launch. Maya refused all of it. Instead, the first event was staff training before sunrise. Every employee sat on folding chairs in the center of the sales floor. No one stood behind a counter. No one wore a title tag larger than anyone else. Nora sat in the front row, now assistant manager for guest experience, after completing additional training and support. She still looked nervous, but she no longer looked afraid of her own conscience. Maya stood before them with the restored green notebook in her hands. The pages were dry now, but the stains remained faintly visible. A paper conservator had saved most of the writing. Maya had refused to replace the damaged pages. The stains were part of the record. She opened to the first page. Luxury is not how expensive something looks. Luxury is how respected someone feels. Then she looked at the staff. "I wrote this because I once walked into a store with enough money to buy a scarf and still left feeling like I had stolen the right to want one." No one moved. Maya continued. "Some of you came to Bennett and Rose because you love beautiful things. Good. Beauty matters. Craft matters. Service matters. But if beauty makes you cruel, it is not luxury. It is decoration covering rot." A few employees lowered their eyes. She turned one page. "A guest does not become real when they buy. They are real when they enter." She closed the notebook. If you cannot serve someone until you know what they can spend, you are not serving, you are calculating. Nora raised her hand. Maya nodded. Nora stood. "I want to say something." Her voice shook, but she continued. "I saw things before that day. I was scared to report them. I thought being new meant staying quiet. I was wrong. Silence helped the people doing harm feel normal." She looked at the other employees. "If something feels cruel, report it. If your manager tells you kindness is bad for sales, report that too. And if you're afraid, find someone. Do not let fear become the uniform." Maya looked at her with quiet pride. That was leadership beginning. Not loud, not perfect, but honest. 3 months later, an older black woman in a gray cleaning uniform walked into the flagship store at 5:20 in the evening. Her name was Ruth Coleman. She had finished a shift cleaning offices 2 blocks away and saw a silk scarf in the Bennett and Rose window. She stood outside for nearly 4 minutes before entering. Maya happened to be in the back office reviewing training reports. Through the glass, she saw Ruth pause near the entrance. Old fear recognizes old fear. Maya did not move forward. Not yet. This was the test. No owner beside her, no camera crew, no scandal. Just a woman in work clothes and a store that claimed it had changed. A young associate named Priya walked over with a warm smile. "Good evening. Welcome to Bennett and Rose. Please take your time. That scarf looks beautiful under evening light." Ruth touched the scarf gently. "I am just looking." "Of course," Priya said. "Looking is welcome here." Ruth smiled, surprised by the sentence. "I do not know if I can afford it." Priya did not flinch. "I can show you the price, and I can also show you similar pieces at different ranges. There is no pressure either way." Maya stood still in the back office. Her throat tightened. Ruth tried on the scarf. It was deep blue, soft against her gray uniform. For a moment, she looked at herself in the mirror as if she had forgotten she was allowed to enjoy her own reflection. Priya said, "That color loves you." Ruth laughed softly. Maya looked down. Ethan had entered behind her. He whispered, "Are you okay?" Maya nodded, not because everything was fixed, because something had begun to heal in the exact place it had been wounded. Ruth bought the scarf, not the most expensive one, not the cheapest, the one she wanted. Priya wrapped it carefully, placed it in a small bag, and walked around the counter to hand it to her with both hands. "Thank you for coming in, Miss Coleman." Ruth looked startled. "You remembered my name." Priya smiled. "You told me. That matters." After Ruth left, Maya walked to the display case near the employee entrance. Inside was the restored green notebook. Beside it was a small brass plaque. "Every guest is real before you know who they are." Below that, a second line had been added after the incident. "Respect that depends on recognition is not respect. It is calculation." Nora had suggested the line. Maya had approved it. That night, after the store closed, Maya stood alone on the sales floor. The room was quiet again, but it was not the old quiet. No hidden laughter, no cruel chat buzzing in pockets. No managers scanning clothing and deciding humanity. Just lights on wood, product on shelves, and the echo of a better promise trying to become habit. Ethan joined her near the fragrance counter, the place where Brandon had thrown the soda. For a while, neither spoke. Then Ethan said, "I keep thinking about what you said, that we failed the floor before it failed you." Maya looked across the store. "We did. We built something beautiful. Then we trusted numbers to tell us whether it was still good." "Numbers are loud," Ethan said. "People leave quietly," Maya replied. He nodded. "What do we do now?" Maya looked at the notebook. "We keep listening after the story stops being viral. That was the real work. Not the firing, not the public statement, not the applause from strangers online. The real work was the next ordinary customer, and the next, and the next. A person in sneakers, a person with an accent, a person with a stroller, a person in a cleaning uniform, a person who only wanted to look, a person who could afford everything, a person who could afford almost nothing. Each one real before the staff knew why." Maya touched the edge of the display case. The stain on the notebook page would never fully disappear. She was glad. Some stains should remain where people can see them, not as shame forever, as warning, as witness, as proof that a company can look expensive and still become cheap in spirit if it laughs at the wrong person. and also as proof that a company can choose to become better when someone refuses to hide the harm. So if this story reminded you of someone who was treated like they did not belong, write their name in the comments. If you have ever watched a group call cruelty a joke because the target seemed powerless, share this story. And if you believe respect should never wait until someone famous, wealthy, or connected walks through the door, subscribe for more stories where the overlooked are finally seen, the powerful are held accountable, and dignity wins without needing permission. Because Brandon thought he was throwing soda on a woman who did not matter, Carla thought she was protecting the image of a luxury store. Tessa thought recording humiliation was safer than standing against it. But when Ethan Bennett walked in and said, "She is my wife," the room did not only learn Maya's name, it learned its own failure. Maya Bennett was not just the owner-wife. She was the woman who wrote the promise they had broken. And the greatest mistake those employees made was not that they humiliated someone powerful. It was that they believed any person had to be powerful before humiliation became wrong. That is not luxury. That is not service. That is not humor. A prank that only one side can laugh at is not a prank. It is cruelty wearing a smile. And dignity, once seen clearly, is something no amount of soda can wash away.